Welcome to Ponchatoula Live, the show where we make it easy for you to connect with the people of Ponchatoula. I'm your host, Parker Layrisson, and today I've got a terrific guest. This is one of my favorite people to run into, whether it's in his store, at a community event, on the street, wherever. He's always upbeat with a smile on his face and a kind word. And because of that, I guess it's easy to see why he's been so successful. But I'm sure being successful and running the business that he's got has not been easy, and we're going to ask him about that. I'm talking about my friend Mark Barker with Delicious Donuts. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Parker. It's an honor to be here. To tell you the truth.
Well, it's an honor for me that you share your busy, time, your busy schedule. Your time is valuable, and for you to share with us means a lot to me. Why don't we kick things off with you just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I was born in the Ninth Ward, moved to Chalmette at the age of 6, graduated from Holy Cross, and the rest of the story is donuts.
Well, so when did donuts start? Not in Hammond at Delicious, right? How did you get from there to here?
My dad opened up in 1969 the first Dunkin' Donuts in Louisiana on Veterans.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Chalmette came available, so he bought Chalmette and sold the battery store, so we were in Chalmette. And then when I graduated, I just went right into the business because I worked every day there. So I just continued doing the donut business.
So back when Dunkin' was doing the ad about the guy who had to get up and make the donuts, you literally were the guy getting
that. That was me and my dad. Yes, yeah. Time to make the donuts.
That's really neat. Well, so tell me about that. So let's start in the home with the family, because we're talking about a life's work here, and a lot of people go to work with their dad when they're young, but they don't stick it out in that industry. It could be a flash in the pan. So, I'm going to ask you about what it was like to go to work with him in those early years. But before that, just, if you would, tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Well, I was raised in the donut shop in the stock room, just like my kids and, my grandkids. So it was pretty interesting. We worked all the time, seemed like, because back then we were 24 hours, 7 days a week. We never closed. Yeah. So donuts has been all my life.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the 24-hour thing, because one thing about a donut shop, it's got a special place in the lore of Americana, if you will, in that donuts are nationwide. We may love beignets in New Orleans, and they may not know what that is in Seattle. And, it took a long time for the churro to hit Ponchatoula. So there are all these regional things. But Dunkin', I guess, is based out of Boston or whatever, right?
Correct, yes.
And yet every town, they may not all have a Dunkin', and Lord knows itty bitty Ponchatoula, my childhood, did not. But every town has a donut shop, and so you mentioned the 24-hour thing. When I was a kid, the donut shop in Ponchatoula was located on the corner where CVS drugstore now is. Yeah. And like your family's donut shop, it was 24 hours. And that was the thing, like for the kids, one of the things we do, don't tell my kids about it. I probably should be quiet. They're in the house here. We'd go out on curfew. When the parents went to bed in the middle of the night, these kids would go out. And our goal was to get to the donut shop to play Mrs. Pac-Man and maybe, eat a donut or 2 or 5, whatever. And so were you working during the late hours, or what's it like having a family business that doesn't close?
Well, when I got out of school, I worked some late hours. I worked mostly like 2:30 in the morning to 6 in the evening was my schedule. I worked that 7 days a week, especially when I got married and started having kids.
Well, when did that happen? When did the kids come along? What year are we talking here?
Oh, let's see. My kids, let's see, my son's 33, my daughter's 28, and we were married a year. So what's that? We've been married 34 years.
Wow. What's the secret to 34 years of marriage? That's quite a success story. You've got me beat by over double. I'm not even halfway there yet. Tell me on how to get
Lot of hard work, a lot of give and take.
through.
My wife is the backbone. She stood by my side working long hours.
Yeah,
She's put up with a lot. So
that's neat. How did you meet?
actually, that's a funny story. It's a blind date. A friend of ours was dating a friend of mine, her friend, and they wanted us to meet. And I said, look, I don't want a date. I just go out as a friend. So we went out and just hit it off from day one.
You wanted to get out of that friend zone quick once you put your eyes on her, huh?
Yeah, it was love at first sight.
Well, did she feel that way too, or did it take a while, or what's the story there?
No, we hit it off together.
That's great.
We were dating for like 2 weeks, and she told me she's got to talk to me. Sat me down. I said, I thought,
Uh-huh.
I said, oh, here we go. She's dumping me, and she says, you're not serious a lot. And I said, well, I like to joke around, and
Yeah.
never seen the serious side of me.
So you had to get serious to show her you were for real there, huh?
Yeah, she got to know me. I could be serious.
Well,
I like to be funny though.
Yeah, you're a funny guy, and you always have a smile on your face. Has that always been your kind of default personality? What we're seeing here, what we see when we come in your store, is that just who you are, or do you have to work for that?
No, I'm the same person when I was young as I am now. And all my friends that know me since I'm a kid will tell you the same thing. I haven't changed. So
That's great.
I'm the donut man.
Well, I've got somebody here who wants to say hey to the donut man. I've got a comment that I'll share. Our friend Ryan Griffin says, "What's up, Mark? How are you doing?"
Hey, how you doing, Ryan? That's my buddy.
Ryan's my buddy too. We served together on the TARC board, and he and I are heading to lunch. I think Ryan, I think we got it confirmed for April 2nd. I think we're going to lunch. He says you're a crazy man. I hope he's talking about you, not me, but it could be either one of us. Ryan, thank you for watching the show, man. I appreciate you tuning in to talk to your buddy Mark. And Ryan knows his food, so he knows all the good spots: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Folks, we're here with Mark Parker, the owner of Delicious Donuts. We're talking about his upbringing. Basically, a donut man from Jump Street, like his father, followed him into that business. So now let's focus, if you will, Mark, on what it's like entering a family business, because we've had a lot of people on this show talk about their businesses, and some are multi-generational like yours, and it doesn't always go easy, and some last, some don't. When did you kind of know, hey, I love this and I want to be like my daddy? And what was that journey like from your first day at work until the point where you kind of started to fill his shoes and do what he did like you do?
Well, I started making donuts in the stock room, Play-Doh. And, I loved it ever since. I like to create. I like to do different things.
So just like in Forrest Gump, when Bubba Gump had shrimp on the brain all the times, you had donuts going.
I had donuts on the brain. And back in the day, my dad wouldn't let me make king cakes, any pastries, anything. He was strictly a donut guy.
Oh.
So since I'm on my own, I've ventured out king cakes and kolaches, and it's been
what
great.
A success that's been. My wife is always raving about your king cakes. In fact, she worked in the Livingston Parish school system for like 10 years. And out there, they had a tradition where they do this king cake party, and everybody would bring their favorite king cake, and they do a tasting and whatnot. And I think there's an almond king cake that you do that's just to die for, that Brandy was in love with and would bring out there. So she eventually gets hired 2 or 3 years ago here in Tangipahoa at the junior high in Ponchatoula. And she learned there's no king cake party there. So she implemented it. I saw the principal the other day, Ryan Joseph, and he was, he's excited to have a king cake party, and that's the thing. But But what I've learned is people are bringing in different versions of yours, the donut version, the cake version, the almond version. So clearly you got a late start maybe, and your dad not letting you do that right away, but you made up for lost times. When did the king cake thing start for you? And clearly you have a passion. Is that a Mardi Gras thing or just a like to cook thing, or how did it come about?
Well, when I went out on my own, I opened up my first store in Violet, Louisiana, below Chalmette. It was called Barker's Dozen. That's my last name, Barker. So, so I had a customer of mine ask me if I could make king cakes for her to resell. So I said, well, give me a couple of days and I'll come up with something. So I came up with the baked king cake, my version, and she loved it. So she started selling it. And that's how I got rolling in the baked king cakes.
Okay.
Now, the donut king cake, I have to give credit to my buddy, Jim Planetta, the donut hole in
Okay.
LaPlace. Uh, he hired me after Katrina because we lost everything.
Oh man, I bet.
Our house, our business, everything. So, and I worked for my dad at the time. So I went to him and he hired me, took a chance. And I worked for Jim like 2 years and 3 months. I gave him 8 months notice when I was opening up my own shop. And,
Mhm.
he's my best friend today.
Yeah.
Um, Very
Now,
good
was
guy.
this notice for when you opened up in Hammond
And
or?
no, in Violet.
Okay, I
Um,
thought, okay, okay.
and he actually, he says, I never had anybody give me 8 months notice.
Hey,
But
that's competing because on one hand you're like this best employee ever with 8 months notice, but then I don't know, competitor is the right word for location wise, but you're building a rival thing, so that's interesting.
yeah, but he was great. He kept me on.
Yeah.
I trained somebody to take my place, and
Uh-huh.
he he's been a great guy to me personally. He taught me how to cook breakfast. We never did cook breakfast. And then when I opened up Delicious here, he he says, you're going to sell the donut king cake? And I said, nah, nobody wants a donut king cake. They want a baked king cake. So I started my first year with the baked, and I did good. I was
Right.
satisfied. But everybody kept asking, where's the donut king cake? So I asked Jim, I said, Jim, would you mind if I made the donut king cake? He said, no.
Yeah.
We're best friends. He's like my dad.
Yeah.
So,
It's so important to have a mentor like that. I'm glad you shared
yes,
that because
yes,
whatever business you're in, making donuts, practicing law, teaching school, whatever, if you don't have that North Star of someone who's been there, done that, done it well, done it honorably, it is just twice as hard to make it where you want to get. So when did you kind of know that he was a guy that you could kind of trust and model? Because you had this great mentor in your father, but then like
right.
the storm comes, you lose everything. And then you say still best friends to this day.
Oh, yeah, to this
When
day.
did you
He's
know that was going to be
70.
such a special relationship, and how does it
Oh,
make you feel
yeah.
looking back on it?
He almost didn't hire me.
Really?
I know y'all familiar with Navarre's Donuts.
Of course, yes.
Mr. Ernie just passed.
Okay.
Great guy.
Yeah.
I went to his shop and interviewed with Ernie. And I get home and my wife says, what do you think? I said, nah, he's not going to hire me. I wouldn't hire me because I know too much. you know? So he didn't hire me. And I ran into Jim and he remembered my dad. And so he hired me. And I remember him telling me, we're not going to be friends. And I said, well, I don't need a friend. I need a job. So he gave me a job and he fired two guys and I took their place
Yeah.
and worked every day for him. And after 3 months, I was having dinner at his house. We were, because I treated him like my dad. I took care of his
Right.
store for him.
Yeah.
And we used to fight like brothers. And his employees would say, you're not afraid of getting fired? I said, nah, I do too much.
So he told you wouldn't be friends, and you became best friends. That's
Yes.
classic.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned opening up in Hammond and Delicious. Like, what brought you up here? Was there a family connection? Or did you just like the area? Like, how'd you get here?
Well, my wife's grandma lived here
Okay.
and cousins. And I opened back up after the storm with Barker's Dozen in Chalmette, thinking we'd go back, but my wife wouldn't go back. So for 3 years, well, about 2 years, I stayed in a trailer and come home on Sunday evening and go back the next day. And so after 3 years, I had enough of that. I'm a family guy. So I started looking for a location, and I come across my location and shook hands with Mr. Charlie Salino, which is a great landlord. It's been great to
Oh
me.
yeah, dear friend of my father's. That's a wonderful family. He and his
Awesome,
son, little Charlie's a great guy too. Yeah,
awesome guy. They both, the whole family.
yeah.
So we shook hands, and that was it. I opened up, and I had two shops, and I had
Mhm.
to sell the other one because I couldn't do both because I was still in the kitchen.
Right.
And never looked back. Business has grown every year. It's phenomenal. And after a year, I had to take the next unit to expand because
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Charlie wouldn't rent it out. He kept telling me, "You're gonna need it. You're gonna need it." I was a little scared, but it was the best thing we ever did. So
Yeah. Well, he's a smart businessman, so he could
yeah,
see things before most of us on the business front. So let's talk about what you offer there, because your donut shop has a robust offering. My kids just love it. Let's talk donuts, kolaches, everything. What are your hot sellers? What do people like most? What do you prefer the most? Tell us about all that if you don't mind.
we have about 35 varieties. We do cakes, not wedding cakes, but donut cakes for special events, birthdays. Um, I do king cakes for weddings. We've done
Well, that's
a
cool.
lot. Yeah, that we got a lot of good customers through that. The kolaches, they do great.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love your sausage kolaches, man. They're delicious. Now, kolaches that's not something a ton of people around here seem like they've done. I mean, that's what more of a Houston Mexican. Tell me about kolaches.
Yeah, they more of Texas,
Okay.
Mexico kolaches. They, I remember they no longer in business. Southern Maid had kolaches,
Okay.
and I picked up a few. I was working at the donut hole with Jim, and I got to
Uh-huh.
work, and I said, "Look, why don't we come up with a kolache?" So he says, "Go ahead, figure out what we can do." So we made breakfast kolaches at his place, and it just took off because he's got a lot
Yeah.
of plant workers. So
Right.
he sold a lot of kolaches, and I still tease him, "Where's my commission?" But he's been
So you
great.
gave him the great kolache idea, and he gave you the donut king cake. You
Yes,
guys, there's a nice synergy going there. Both of you guys have helped pay a mortgage for one another.
yes, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: it being a family business, you second generation. You mentioned your kids. Is there interest from them in the business?
My Yeah, my daughter is taking over. She
Oh,
does
cool.
most of the stuff now. I just
Uh-huh.
do the paperwork and the payroll. I still have my hands in it. Um, she
You're still
recruited
kind of
me.
the face. People. She's doing all the work now, and you're kind of the mascot. Is that what's going on?
Yes, that's it.
You got the best job on the planet.
You're
Everybody
right.
knows you as a donut man, but you don't have to get up and make them anymore. That's
No, I haven't. I haven't cut donuts in a while, but I wasn't there for king cake season. She worked me
yeah.
to death during king cake season.
That's an all hands on deck. I mean, if
All
anybody
that.
hasn't seen your operation, and what strikes me about the success of your business, Mark, is they've literally had to like rework traffic at that corner, because it's like the line is so long. And, as a car accident lawyer, I'm thinking like, oh, this is getting dangerous. It's like, good for my business, bad for breakfast, if this doesn't go right. But,
I
but
know. I look and it makes me nervous. I might have to hire a deputy or something.
yeah, but it's great. And then king cake season is just like, wow. It's like
Yeah.
locusts descending upon, the Celino property there on the corner. But that's got to be neat. So, I mean, working with your daughter, passing that torch, is that something that really hits you in the heart? Because, I mean, again, you've been doing this your whole life.
Yes.
It must come kind of full circle. you must have, kind of envision the pride your dad must have had in you doing it, and she's carrying this thing on third generation. I guess what I'm saying is, how does that make you feel?
Awesome, great. I know what my dad feels like now because I'm proud of my daughter, and my dad told me he's proud of me. We've come a long way.
A blessing.
And my daughter wants to continue doing it, so that's why I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, do you envision any big changes with her? Because it seems like you certainly brought a lot of new ideas that your dad didn't do in his
Right.
heyday. You've had all these innovations. What about her? Y'all throw, and maybe these are trade secrets you can't share here on the air. But should we be expecting any surprises in the coming years with her?
Nothing. No, nothing. No change. I try to keep it simple for her.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to find employees, and
yes, absolutely.
and she works, every day except Monday. So I didn't. That's why I'm not open 24 hours because that's no life.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't want to put too much on her because there's a lot of things we can do, but you don't have the manpower. It's hard to do it.
Right. Well, let me ask you about lessons learned. So, as somebody who's been both the son going into dad's business and then going on your own, starting your own thing, and then being the father, but watching your daughter take over the reins. What are some lessons you've learned about family business? Do's and don'ts, things that have worked and not worked. When you look back on that, and clearly it's a big happy story. Your father was proud of you, you're proud of her. Happy ending, but I'm sure like any story, there are bumps in the road. So the question is kind of, what did you learn about that family business along the way?
I've learned when you're the son or the daughter, just listen to your dad.
Wait,
I mean,
can I take this in the room and have you talk to my kids who are one room over doing their homework? Yeah, listen to dad. Okay.
I mean, with years, you have wisdom. So,
right.
I've listened to my dad, and my daughter listens to me, but it's the same thing. I was always fighting with my dad, do this, do that, because you're young, and my daughter does the same thing to me now. So what comes around goes around.
That's perfect.
And my dad's enjoying every minute of it. He laughs.
He gets a kick out of that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, what inspires you to keep involvement once you pass the torch? Because like you said, you're not working it every day, but you're there for king cake season. You're consulting with her, helping her. What keeps you interested? Because you've been, I can't do the math, but you've been at this donut game a really long time, decades, not years, and you still seem to have a passion for it. So, what inspires you?
The customers. We have a lot of great customers. The community has accepted us. I remember when we first moved here, sitting around, they would call us "you people" to transplant.
Yeah. Wait, I had a guest on my show about a month ago. He said he used the terminology I hadn't heard before. He goes, "I'm a from here, not a come here."
Right.
And I thought, oh yeah, you hadn't heard that one before, but that does reflect a certain sentiment. So,
right.
as a Shalmatian who's moved up this way, there's so many of y'all
Yes.
been displaced by this horrible storm and the circumstance. Do you feel more welcome here? Because I feel like there was kind of a from here, come here dynamic in the earlier days, but now I just think of y'all as part of the fabric of our area. What's your feeling on that?
It's awesome. They accepted me, all of y'all. There's a lot of Shalmatians here. That's why I still do the baked king cake, because my Chalmette customers don't want the donut king cake.
They're traditional.
Yeah, the community has been great. Everybody. You were even great the first time I met you. I don't know if you remember. CJ's Antique. He was one of my first buddies here in Ponchatoula.
He was Uncle CJ to me. I love that man. He was
great man. And I asked him, I need something notarized. So he recommended you up above I forgot what building. So I go up there, and you notarize something for me and you wouldn't charge me. I said, no,
Well,
you,
wait,
you
I
didn't even
figured.
know me, you know?
No, but Mark, if you could make it up the steps at that office, you paid enough to get there because the building he's describing is the old Gateway Bank building. Now it's home
Yeah.
to Pink Agave Restaurant. And
Yes.
you mentioned the handshake deal with Charlie Ciolino on your deal. I had a handshake month-to-month lease with Andrew Edwards for 12 years. Who would ever thought two lawyers could get along for 12 years on a handshake? Haven't heard of it before or since. But yeah, I remember you coming up there, and it didn't feel right to charge you, a guy who had lost everything, and I know that made Uncle CJ proud. Uncle CJ was not my real uncle, but my original law partners were his nephews, and so he
Right.
kind of adopted me. And he came up from Plaquemines Parish long before this,
Yes.
but he kind of had infiltrated the ranks of how to become a fabric of Ponchatoula guy without being, from here. And
Yeah. He
I'm
was,
sure he's smiling at you now because you're carrying on his legacy for sure.
yeah, he was the go guy for me to
Yeah.
who should I use? You know, I didn't know anybody. You know, give me a plumber, give me an electrician.
Yeah. Well, I feel
He,
honored that he would recommend me because, as you know, a lot of a tea is spilled, so to speak, drinking coffee at his shop. So, they knew the good, bad, and the ugly of everything in town. So that means a lot that he would recommend me. Let me ask you about, back to donuts thing. What's a day in the life of a donut, shop owner, employee, like, because, it strikes me that you guys are up early. You mentioned earlier, it's a 6 day a week thing. So even if you're not 24/7, it's an hour's grind. It is, or am I wrong? Like, what's a day in the life like? How's that work process wise?
oh, it's a lot of time on your feet and
I bet.
hustle bustle. You know, I've been blessed that I have a good business. God's been good to me. So it's a big production. It's a lot of work. Uh, when I hire new people, I tell them, you wear comfortable shoes, blah blah blah. But it's long hours and it's a fast pace
Yeah.
because you want to get your customers in and out as fast as you can in a drive-through. And I had a funny story. My wife's sister and nephews came during king cake season, and they worked one day with us to help us out.
Uh
And they were supposed to go to a parade after that. They all went home and went to sleep,
huh.
and they won't
You
come
wore them
back.
out one day. I love it. That's perfect.
Yeah,
Well,
so it's a love labor of love, really.
yeah, it reminds me. So I worked my way through high school, like my brothers at High Hope, and so we all worked there, or three of the four of us. All three that were around for when High Hope came to town worked there for 4 years in high school, and we probably weren't as busy as Delicious Donuts, but we had our hot moments, and same thing, long days on your feet. And what I loved was the constant, influx of people. Because when you're practicing law, like today, I met with some great clients. One was an old high school friend, and it was great to see him that I hadn't really got to catch up with a while. And I really liked this family. But man, I might see only a few clients in a day. A busy day, maybe 4, 6 clients. You guys, man, it's coming. And
Yeah.
is it like this in donuts that I experienced in High Hope, where you get your regulars and you see your regulars and you know exactly what they want, and their face just lights up because they know that you see them? It's like, I remember, man, if I had somebody's Dr. Pepper ready and their fries ordered extra crispy without them having to ask, I could see them perk up and their posture improved and the smile hit. Is donut life like that at all? Or because you mentioned
Yes.
earlier loving the people.
Yes, love the people, and that's what keeps me going. I sit at the round table. I don't do much work, during the year, but I
Hey, you've
guess I'm
earned that. You're like Uncle CJ. He wasn't moving anything at his at his store either. You earned that
right.
spot.
Yeah, right. So I guess I'm still the face, I guess. But my daughter loves when I'm there because we have fun, we enjoy ourselves.
Yeah.
Uh, my employees laugh. I've been lucky with some employees, with me a while. And before the storm, we used to have employees 30 years worked with us.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a little rough after Katrina, but
Well, that's the toughest part with business. And it's the same at my law firm. I'm blessed with some folks that have been with me a while, some for a decade or more. And but it's hard to get. And when you look at industry standards, man, turnover is happening lightning fast now. The economy's changing.
Yeah. And I've been lucky that I have a gentleman that's a year older than me that cuts my donuts. And
wow.
That's an awesome story.
That is a gift there. Yeah. What a blessing.
I was in the kitchen working every day, and I told my wife, I only got about 5 more years left in me. I got to get out of this kitchen. So I was in there about 3 years, and the girl comes and says, somebody's on the phone, a donut cutter. So I go to the phone, and I say, why don't you come on in for an interview tomorrow? So he drove from Macomb, Mississippi. He walked in. I asked him a few questions, knew he could cut donuts. And I said, look, why me? You passed up 5 donut shops. Why me? And he looked dead at me and said, God sent me.
Wow. That's powerful.
My hair stood up. I hired him right then and there. I said, you hired? He's been with me 7 years, 8 years.
That's great. That's a fantastic story. I love it. Speaking of fantastic guys, Morris Michon has piped in. Mo Tootsie, how you doing, man?
Hey, Morris.
He says you're a super guy. And, of course, what do I say? It takes one to know one. 2 super guys here. One with the comment and Mo, and another here with Dave. Let me ask you this: when you see a comment from somebody like Morris, Mark, saying you're a super guy, how does that make you feel to be recognized, in a positive way like that?
It feels great. It's an honor to be in business here in this community. Morris has been great. I got to know him. Wasn't Morris on your podcast at one time?
He sure was, yeah. And we go way back. He used to work for my dad at the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
And, he and Bree at the PD. I mean, just great guy. We go way back as friends, as colleagues. And, yeah, he was on the show.
Well, with your podcast, it's awesome because I knew him coming in my shop, what he did, with he'd get donuts and make bread pudding. But after I watched him on your podcast, I got to know him better. So it was awesome. I think it's a great thing you do.
Well, thank you for mentioning that. That was kind of the goal. And, we started during the pandemic when people weren't able to get out. And, the hope is just take people from different sides of town, people like Morris that grew up here, people like you that came here as adults, and find connections. And it's been real rewarding. And so I meant everything I said when I introduced you, Mark. You are one of my favorite people in town. You are upbeat. Here we are 33 minutes into this interview, and I don't think a smile has left your face the whole time. And I want to thank you for sharing your story. Before we go, I want to give you an opportunity. If anything's on your mind, if anything's on your heart, is there anything else you want to share with our viewers and our listeners before we shut down for the week?
I just want to thank everybody for supporting us. And please continue to support us. And we love it here. And we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. So he's a come here, not a from here, and we are glad he came here. That's Mark Parker with Delicious Donuts, one of the nicest guys in town. Promise you one of the best donuts you'll ever eat in your life, probably the best donut. But Mark, thank you for coming, and it's sure nice catching up with you. And to our viewers and listeners, thanks for sticking with us to the end. We'll see you here next week.
Thank you, Parker.